Hey guys, hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So today in this particular video, I'm going to take 10 tricky NATs and MCQs both from electrochemistry, right? From the previous GATE exam. So we are going to take like these questions, and I have made previous videos also on different topics like chemical kinetics and thermodynamics. So do watch those videos also. In there I have taken previous 10 NATs from those topics. Today in this video, I'll take both NATs and MCQs both from electrochemistry topic, right? So starting from 2020, and we'll just go back to up to 2016 GATE exam, and we'll try to see questions how they have to be done. All right. Now this particular series will give you an idea that how you can approach a particular question, especially in these physical chemistry topics, which are very important from your GATE point of view. Now before going into the video, before explaining you anything about it, let me tell you about my classes which are running right now on Unacademy Plus. So I've started a batch for CSIR NET preparation. If you are preparing for CSIR NET upcoming exam, you can join my Unacademy Plus classes by taking subscription of Unacademy Plus using my referral code, that is N_Huda. If you have any other query regarding the classes of Unacademy Plus, you can mail me in the email ID provided in the description of this video. Alright, now having said that, let's continue with our video. Alright, I'll take this first question over here, which was asked in GATE 2020, and it's a numerical answer type question. It says that at 25 degrees Celsius, Ag is getting converted into AgBr, and this is basically the cell reaction which is given to you. Now in this reaction, this is a concentration cell which is given to you, and how you understand a concentration cell? In the concentration cells, the activities are given to you. Alright. Now based upon that, what they are asking is the AMF of this particular cell. So to answer this type of question, you have to apply the Nernst equation for the concentration cell. Now in the Nernst equation, you have this given as this, that E of the cell is equals to E naught of cell minus RT upon NF, and you have a ln Q. Okay, so you have ln, generally we write down ln K for equilibrium reaction. Since it's not a equilibrium reaction, it's a non-equilibrium reaction. All these concentration reactions are non-equilibrium reactions, so there you have to put ln Q. What is Q here? So Q is called reaction quotient. Okay, so Q is reaction quotient, and you know this about Q from chemical equilibrium. Q is equals to like product divided by reactant, concentration of product divided by reactant. But here, since everything is expressed in the terms of activity, so we'll find out Q first of all. Okay, so let's try to do that. Before answering this question, you have to understand that which species is undergoing reduction, which is undergoing oxidation, and what is the cell reaction actually. Okay, so I'll just quickly write down. So basically in the cell reaction which is given to you, some obvious things are there, like those things which are written on the right side, they are generally where the reduction happens. Okay, and the things which are written on the left side, these are the this is a particular side where oxidation happens. All right, so one thing which we know is that copper should go and undergo reduction in order to become copper plus, and that's also obvious because you can see the oxidation state is decreasing here. So if I write down the cell reaction, I'll write down that my copper plus 2 is getting converted into copper plus 1. All right, so this is as simple as that. I have just taken it like this. Okay, now what about the oxidation part? So here some species has to undergo oxidation. Now which is that species? That's what you have to see. So here you can see that silver over here is in 0 oxidation state, silver over here is in +1 oxidation state. If I talk about bromine, so the oxidation state of bromine is -1, and here also it's -1. So there is nothing which is happening in bromine. So which species is undergoing oxidation here? You can say silver is actually undergoing oxidation. So I just have to write down that my silver is undergoing oxidation, and it's making it as silver bromide. All right, now you can simply understand that the oxidation state of silver is 0, and here it is +1, so yes, it is undergoing oxidation. So first write down the reduced species, then the oxidized species, and that's how your reaction is made. But up till now it's not balanced, so in order to balance, you have this Br minus, and that's the only thing which is different in both of the sides. So you just have to add down Br minus. Nothing, Br minus is not there for any of the reason, it's just there to balance the reaction. All right, now once you have understood, you can simply calculate your Q. Now Q can be easily calculated as your activity of the product divided by activity of reactant. So the product is your like activity of your copper plus divided by activity of your copper plus 2 in the reactant side and activity of your Br minus. Now you might be asking that why I left out this part and this part. That's because both of these species are in solid state. You can see silver and AgBr both are in solid state. So solid species does not participate in the equilibrium reactions and all. You don't have to write down them. Okay, so just omit them. So this is what you will get. Just put the values which are given already to you in the question. So A for your copper plus is given to you as 0.24 divided by A for your copper plus 2 is given as 0.48 and multiplied by for bromine or Br minus it is 0.2. Okay, 0.20. So fine, just put it here and just you can substitute the value over here. Okay, so the formula basically is going to become, now E naught of the reaction is also given to you, right? The standard EMF of the reaction is also given to you. So just put that value 0.082 minus, now this value, this RT upon F, you know the value of that is, and especially when the temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, at that time your RT upon F is equals to 0.059. So we'll just write down that. So this is 0.059 upon N, and ln can be converted into log. So basically what I am doing, I'll just write down here. So basically what I am doing is I'm converting ln into log. So this will become 2.303 RT upon NF, and it will become log Q. All right. So this 2.303 RT upon F, this whole term, this whole thing has a value when the temperature, okay, at T is equals to 25 degrees Celsius or 298 Kelvin. At that time, this whole value can be equal to 0.059. So I can just substitute in this place. So what I'm going to get is a 0.082 minus 0.059, the value of N. How much charge is changing here? So just one charge, so N will be 1. Okay, how many electrons are being taken or given, that's what N gives you. And then you have log Q, value of Q you have to put from here. So just solve this and you can calculate the value of Q from here. So I'll just put as it is, 0.24 divided by 0.48 multiplied by 0.2. Use your calculator to solve. This will be cancelled out 2 times and then you can just simply calculate it. Okay, so it's a simple calculation which you have to do. After calculating this, after putting everything, no unit change, nothing you have to do, just solve this as it is, and at the end you are going to get 0.0228. okay, since you have to round off till 3 decimal places, so the answer will be equal to 0.023. okay, this is going to be the final answer for this question. So 0.023 is the final answer for this. Alright, let's talk about this particular question. This was asked in GATE 2020 exam and it's a MCQ question from electrochemistry. The question says that the activity of M, that is M molal of your copper sulfate solution, can be expressed in terms of its mean activity coefficient, that is in gamma plus minus. So I'll just tell you a general trend, okay, a general trend how we do questions on mean activity coefficient. So let's say if you have a reaction of AXBY, and if this reaction gets converted into X moles of A and the charge is plus, and Y moles of B, the charge is minus on B. So if this does like that, so in that case the activity A plus minus is given as X to the power X and Y to the power Y and M to the power X plus Y, and then you have gamma plus minus to the power X plus Y. Okay, this is what we have. So that's what it is, right? Now in the given question, if I split this up, copper sulfate, so this is going to split up into copper plus 2 and sulfate SO4 2 minus, right? This is how it is going to break, and the value of X and Y over here is going to be 1 and 1. All right, so this is what I am going to get. So simply I can just solve, or I can just go do it for mean activity coefficient, that is A plus minus will be equal to, the value of X is 1 here. Okay, so I'll have 1 to the power 1, okay, because X is the coefficient here, so X is 1, so 1 to the power 1 multiplied by Y, Y is also 1, so 1 to the power 1 multiplied by M to the power X plus Y, so 1 plus 1, and then gamma plus minus to the power 1 plus 1. Simple as it is, just you can compare and you can just do it easily. 1 to the power 1 is obviously 1, multiplied 1 by 1 will also be 1. So you'll get A plus minus is equals to M square and gamma plus minus square. So this is going to be the final answer, and it's as simple as that. You are just done with this question. Option number A is the correct answer. right? So it's as simple as that. Just if you know this, just note it down if you have not noted it yet. So just note it down. Whenever a question is asked, you can do with that. All right, let's go for the next one then. All right, so this question, this particular question is from your GATE 2019 exam, and this is a numerical answer type question. The question is from thermodynamic relation of your electrochemical, like electrochemical reactions. Okay, so thermodynamic relation of electrochemical reaction, that's the topic. Now the question says that consider the electrochemical cell. The cell is given to you. Now the cell also you have to understand that what the cell actually is. We'll come back to that later. But it says where M is certain metal and it's being done at 298 Kelvin. The standard reduction potential are given to you for M2 plus 2M, that is minus 0.12 volt, Mi2 to M, that is minus 36 volt, and the temperature coefficient, that is del E over del T at constant P, is given to you as 1.5 into 10 to the power minus 4 volts per Kelvin. Now at this temperature, the standard enthalpy change of the overall reaction, that is delta H, is being asked. If you know a little bit of thermodynamics and thermodynamic relation, you know that delta H is equals to delta G plus T delta S, right? This is the relationship which we have. Now that means in order to calculate delta H, we have to calculate delta G also, we have to calculate delta S, right? Now how to calculate delta G? So delta G is pretty simple to calculate. Delta G is equals to minus NFE of cell, right? That's how we calculate your delta G. So first of all, we have to calculate E of cell. That will help us to calculate delta G. Now once we will be done with delta G, we'll somehow do delta S also. Okay, so let's start with it. First of all, in order to find out delta E, or basically E of the cell, you need to know the reduction and oxidation potentials. Okay, so which is getting reduced, which is getting oxidized, that's what you have to understand. Now if you see the cell, in this cell the metal is same. Okay, so it's again a concentration cell which is given to you, but the things are not given in the activity form and all. So what you have to understand is here the metal is in zero oxidation state, and since it is with iodine, so we'll consider it as that the oxidation state is getting changed to +2. So oxidation is being done over here, and here it is in +2 oxidation state and it's getting changed into zero oxidation state. So reduction is being done here, and this side oxidation is being done. All right, now that means ki you can write down E of the cell. I'll just try to do here itself. So E of the cell is equals to E reduced minus E oxidized, right? That's how we write down, or E cathode minus E anode. So E reduction minus E oxidation. So in reduction, what is happening? You can write down that E in the reduction M plus 2 is getting changed into M, right? So in reduction M plus 2 is getting changed into M. So I'll just write down it like this. Minus oxidation may we'll write down it as M getting changed into, or yeah, basically that's what I can write down. So M, basically this is what the oxidation is happening, but we have to always write down the reduction potential. Okay, so यहाँ पर in this particular place we have to write down the reduction potential, not the oxidation reaction here. Okay, we know that the oxidation is happening for M plus 2 to M, but we write down the reduction potential. So how the reduction potential will be written? I'll just erase this. The reduction potential will be like Mi2 getting changed into M. Okay, so that's what it is. So reduction potential of this particular part. Okay, so oxidation is happening from M to Mi2. This is how the reaction is going. The oxidation is happening in such a way, but since we have to express in the form of reduction potential, that's why I have reversed it and written it like this. Understood? Now just the values is what I have to substitute. Now my E of the cell, okay, can be written as your E reduction value, that is M2 plus 2M. This value is minus 0.12, and minus the value for this is given to me as minus 0.36. Solve it, minus 1s will become plus, and you will get E of the cell, or E naught of the cell, basically not E, it should be E naught because all are standard values. So this is going to become plus 0.24 volt. Okay, this is going to be the E of the cell. Now once you have found E of the cell, you can easily calculate delta G. Delta G is equals to minus NFE. So minus the value of N is how many charge is being transferred. So you can see the charge difference is 2. So the value of N is 2 here. F is 96500 Faraday constant. It's given to you also. And E of the cell, or E naught of the cell, is given to you as 0.24. So you can just use your calculator. I have already solved this. So this is going to become, the delta G of the reaction will come out minus 46320 joule. Okay, 320 joules. So this is going to be the value of delta G. Just keep it as it is. The next thing which you have to calculate is delta S. We are done with delta G. Delta S is what we have to calculate. Delta S can be simply calculated with the help of temperature coefficient. So this del E by del T at constant P is called as temperature coefficient, and it's related to delta S as this, that delta S is equals to NF del E by del T at constant P. Same on this particular equation. Question has been asked in CSIRNet many times, so you should know about this equation. Just put the value now. N is 2, F is 96500 multiplied by this value is already there in the question, so it's 1.5 into 10 to the power minus 4. Multiply it. I am not doing it because you know the calculator is provided to you, so you can do it of your own. So your delta S is going to come out around 28.95 joules per Kelvin. Okay, this is what you will get as your delta S. Now you have got delta S, you have got delta G, both the equations or both the values are there. You just have to substitute to calculate delta H now. So delta H is equals to delta G plus T delta S. So delta G is minus 46320 plus temperature is 298 Kelvin, it's already given. So 298 multiplied by delta S. Delta S is 28.95. Just put the values, like already the values have been substituted. Just solve this and your delta H will come out minus 37693 joules, okay, per mole. Okay, so the value will be in joules per mole, but we want the value in kilojoules per mole, so we'll simply divide it by 1000. So the final answer of delta H is going to be minus 37.69 kilojoules per mole. Alright, so the answer will be minus 37.69 because you have to round off till 2 decimal places. So this is how the question will be done, and that is the correct answer. Alright, so this was as simple as that. You just need to know the basic formula and how to approach it. Let's go for the next one then. Alright, let's talk about this particular question here from electrochemistry. This says that the molar conductivity of 0.01 molar weak acid at 298 Kelvin measured at the conductivity cell with cell constant of 0.4 centimeter inverse is 64.4 Siemens meter square per moles. The limiting molar conductivity at infinite dilution is given to you, that is for H plus and X minus is 298 Kelvin, and these are 350 and 410 Siemens centimeter square per mole. They're asking that ignore the activity coefficients and all, find out the pKa for that. Okay, so you have to do a little bit of like basic electrochemical calculations to solve this question. So let's first of all write down that what are the things given to us. Molar conductivity of 0.01, so the concentration is given to you as 0.01 molar. Okay, the acid is HX, fine, and the temperature is given to you as 298 Kelvin, that is also fine. Now what they are asking is conductivity cell of the cell constant. Okay, so the cell constant, all right, that means L upon A, its value is 0.4 cell constant is 0.4 centimeter inverse, and the molar conductivity, that means lambda m, is given to you as 64.4 Siemens centimeter square per mole. All right, and they are asking you to calculate pKa. So for calculating pKa, you have to first of all calculate Ka. Ka, how you are going to calculate? So basically Ka has a formula is equals to your it's C alpha square upon 1 minus alpha. This is from Ostwald dilution law. Now alpha is your degree of dissociation, and degree of dissociation you have to calculate over here, right? So C is the concentration which is given to you. So first we have to calculate alpha. We'll substitute over here to find out Ka, and once we will get Ka, we can find out pKa. So let's start this. So first of all, let us find out alpha. So to calculate alpha, which is your degree of dissociation, the formula for this is lambda m upon lambda naught m. Alright, so you have to calculate lambda naught m first of all. Lambda naught m can be calculated because it's a HX is the acid over here which is going to dissociate in H plus and X minus. So your lambda naught m will be equal to lambda naught for H plus lambda naught for X minus. Okay, so infinite, the molar conductivity at infinite dilution of both the ions can give you the overall molar conductivity at infinite dilution for HX acid. So let's put the values here. It's given to you already 350 and 410. So 350 plus 410, and this whole value is going to give you, I have done it, so it is going to give you 760 Siemens centimeter square per mole. Alright, this is your lambda naught m. Once you have got lambda naught m, you can calculate alpha simply by lambda m upon lambda naught m. So lambda m is already given to you as 64.4 divided by lambda naught m is 760. Substitute the values and calculate. So after solving this, you are going to get 0.084. Okay, this is going to be the value of alpha. Now once you have found alpha, it's pretty simple to find out Ka. Ka के लिए we have the formula, we already know. Let's put the values. Concentration is already given, that is 0.01 multiplied by alpha square, that is 0.084 square, and divided by 1 minus 0.084. Okay, so simple calculation. You have to use your calculator to solve this part, and after solving you are going to get Ka is equals to 7.7 into 10 to the power minus 5. This is the value of Ka. Now once you have found Ka, you have to calculate pK. It's simple, just like pH. So pH is negative of log of H plus ion. In the same way, pKa is negative of log of Ka value. Okay, so it's negative of log of Ka value. So Ka we have already calculated. Just put the values. So negative of log of 7.7 into 10 to the power minus 5. Calculate this. Open the log. Log A into B is log A plus log B. So you can just use that formula. So negative of log of, just take negative sign outside, or yeah, so this will be yeah, negative outside. So 7.7 and plus log of 10 to the power minus 5. Now you can solve. Okay, you know how to calculate it. Once you are done with it, you will get the final answer, and after calculating and solving, just use your calculator to solve this part, and you are going to get minus, sorry, it won't be minus, it will be 4.11. Okay, this is going to be the value of pK. So this is how you have to do. 3-4 formula are used here. One formula of degree of dissociation, second the formula of Ka from your Ostwald dilution law. Third formula is your Kohl-Rosch equation for calculating the molar conductivity and infinite dilution from the respective ions. Alright, let's go for the next one then. Alright guys, let's talk about this particular question. This was a numerical answer type question asked in GATE 2017. It says that the mobility of univalent ion in the aqueous solution is 6 into 10 to the power minus 8 meter square per Siemens meter square per second per volt at 300 Kelvin. Its diffusion coefficient at 300 Kelvin is x into 10 to the power minus 9. So you have to find out the value of x. Now you have to know the like the relationship between diffusion coefficient and mobility. So let's write it down. So relationship between diffusion coefficient and mobility. Alright, so the relationship between diffusion coefficient and mobility is given by this equation. dE divided by mu E is equals to KT upon E, where your dE is your diffusion coefficient. Okay, dE is your diffusion coefficient, your mu E is your mobility. Alright, your K is your Boltzmann constant, T is the temperature, and E is charge of electron. Alright, so you know each and everything. Everything is given to you in the question. You just have to put the values now. So you have to calculate dE. So dE will be equal to, you just have to put the mobility value, that is 6 into 10 to the power minus 8 is equals to, Boltzmann constant is 1.38 into 10 to the power minus 23 multiplied by 300, because the temperature is given to you, divided by charge of electron is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. So this is going to give you diffusion coefficient. Just solve it. Just take it to the other side, multiply and calculate. So diffusion coefficient is going to come out 155 25 into 10 to the power minus 12. Now in the question they are asking you to give it in the x into 10 to the power minus 9. So make it 10 to the power minus 9. This will become 1.55 into 10 to the power minus 9. So the answer will come out 1.55. That's all. Okay. So this is as simple as that, just dependent upon this particular equation. If you know this, you would have done this very simply. Let's go for the next one then. Alright, so this particular question is again a very simple one. It says that the standard Gibbs free energy change in the reaction is shown below is minus 2.7 kilojoules per mole. So they have given you delta G already. The reaction is given to you. E naught of two different reactions, like E naught of lead half cell is given to you. Tin half cell they are asking to calculate. Now you know that the delta G is related to your E of the cell, E naught of the cell, by a relation. We have done this in the previous questions also. So delta G is equals to minus NFE. We can use this. Delta G is given to us as minus 2.7 kilojoules. So that means minus 2.7 into 10 to the power 3 joules per mole. Okay, and N, the value of N over here, if you see, it's 2, right? So the value of N becomes 2 over here. So 2 minus 2 into F is 96500 into E naught. Okay, this is E naught of the cell. Alright, so if you calculate this E naught of the cell, this will come out, just take it to the denominator, and this will come out around 0.0139, or you can say it's roughly around 0.014. Alright, this is what you are going to get E naught of the cell. Now since in the reaction you can see that the tin is getting oxidized, okay, and lead is getting reduced. Now you know that E naught of the cell is equals to E reduction minus E oxidation. So just put the values now. Reduction value is E naught of reduction means lead half cell. So PB plus 2 to PB minus oxidation half cell is your tin half cell. So that is E naught of SN plus 2 to SN, and this is your E of the cell. So you need to calculate this particular part, right? This is what you have to calculate. So this can be easily done as E naught of tin plus 2 to tin will be equal to E naught of lead plus 2 to lead minus E naught of the cell. Remember that in this equation, whether the oxidation is happening or reduction, in this equation we always put the reduction half cell. So that's why tin plus 2 to tin and lead plus 2 to lead means both of them are undergoing reduction. Put the values. This is what you have to calculate. This value is already given to me as 0. minus 0. This comes at 0.126 as given in the question, and minus the value is like 0.014. Solve this, and the value which you are going to get overall is going to be minus, because minus minus will be plus, and the overall value will be minus 0.140 volt. So answer will be minus 0.14 volt. Okay, this is going to be the final answer. So simple question, just you have to use the basic equations of electrochemistry to solve this. Let's go for the next one then. Alright, this particular question says that the ionic activity coefficient of calcium and fluoride ions are given to you as 0.72 and 0.28 respectively. The mean activity coefficient of calcium fluoride CaF2 is. So let's try to do it. First of all, it's given for calcium plus 2. The value of gamma is given to me, right? So I can just write it down as gamma Ca plus 2. This is the cationic value, right? Gamma plus, and this is equals to 0.72. And for the anion, that is for fluoride, it's given, like, we will call it gamma minus, and it's given 0.28. Now since we know both these values, and we know that CaF2 is going to dissociate into Ca plus 2 and 2 moles of F minus. Now we are going to use similar kind of equation or similar kind of relation which we done in the second question, I guess. In the same video we have done similar question in the previous questions, right? Like similar type of question in the previous part. So we'll try to analyze, we'll try to apply the same thing. So this particular thing can be done like this, okay? So your gamma plus minus will be equal to gamma plus minus to the power x plus y, okay? This will be equal to gamma plus to the power x and gamma minus to the power minus, power y. So this is how we have related. If you see the previous equation, there also we have done something like that only. There we were taking mean activity over there, okay, we were taking A plus minus. Here we have to take mean activity coefficient. So if you don't know the relation, this is how the relation can be easily set up, okay. So this is the relationship between both of them. We can just put the values here. So the value of gamma plus minus is what I have to calculate. Whole power is x is 1 here and y is 2 here, you can see. So 1 plus 2, and this will be like gamma plus is 0.72 to the power 1 and 0.28 to the power 2. Calculate this side, so it will be like gamma plus minus to the power 3, and this side you just have to square this and multiply, okay. So just square and multiply, so basically you are going to get 0.056448. In order to calculate gamma, it's simple that gamma plus minus will be cube root of this 0.056448. Take the cube root, use your calculator to do this. So gamma plus minus will come out 0.39. So the correct answer will be 0.39 as the final answer for this question. All right. So simple relation. If you don't know about it, just you can note it down somewhere. All right. So let's take the last question for this particular video. The question was asked in GATE 2016 and it is based upon your titration curve. Okay. Now for this, I have explained this in many of my free classes on Unacademy. Also those who have joined Plus, they know about these type of questions and how to do, because these are something which are very important in your electrochemistry and how to solve them, okay. So I have already explained in my previous videos, but again I am explaining that the titration of a strong acid with a strong base is represented by. Now first of all, I'll tell you few things, okay. When you are titrating a strong acid with a strong base, so that means you already have a strong acid in the solution and you are titrating it strong with its strong base. So if you plot pH versus your concentration, so what you are adding? You are adding base, okay. So initially what you have? Initially you have acid. So where does the pH of acid lie? So pH of acid is low. So initially it will be low, and since the concentration of base is increasing in this side, so as the concentration will increase, you will reach a point where the equilibrium will be maintained or titration will be done, and after that all the acid is neutralized. Now you only have base, so that base will have higher pH now. All right. So this curve goes something like this. This is called titration curve or pH curve. So pH curve tells you about titration of acid and base, and this point over here is your equivalent point or equivalence point. Now in the graph which is given to you, it's not pH versus volume or pH versus concentration. It's actually delta pH upon delta V. So delta pH means you are looking upon the changes. So let's see how we are going to do, okay. So this is a strong acid versus a strong base, okay, strong acid with a strong base. The graph should look like something like this. Let's try to see that what it will happen when we are going to do according to our need. So delta pH divided by delta V, and in the denominator we'll take volume, or in the x-axis we'll take volume. So what you are actually plotting is change in pH. So when you go, let me call it as point number A, point number B, point number C, and point number D. So between point A and B, is there any change in pH? From A to B, there is no change in pH, right? So delta pH is change in pH. So there is no change in pH, so that's why the graph will be constant up till A to B, from point A to B. All right. Now when you go between point B to C, you can see that the pH changes has increased, okay. There is a positive increase, or there has been an increase in pH. So let me just call it like this, A here and B here. So between B and C, the graph has increased high, like the pH has increased tremendously. And between C and D, if I just talk about C and D, so is there any change in pH from C to D? No, the pH is same. If it is, let's say 14 or 15, so it's like, if it is 13 or 14, so it's 13 and 14 only, but from C to D. So there is no change from C to D, okay. From between C to D, there is no change. What has happened between B and C? There has been a high increase in the graph. So that's why the curve will look something like this, okay. It should not be this much broad. Actually, I have just drawn it to explain you, but in actual, the curve is going to look, I'll just draw it in a rough, okay. So this will be something like this, okay. So that means if you look upon here, the correct graph which represent it is option number C. Okay, so these are from the titration curves. You should be able to understand them. I have just given you a very short explanation of this, and yeah, that's all for this video, guys. That's all from my side. Thank you so much for watching this particular video. If you like this video, give it a like. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. I'll meet you in the next one. Till then, have a great day. Bye bye.